Welcome to Bleav in 76ers with your hosts, former 76ers point guard Eric Snow and two Sixers fanatics in Marcus and Teja Dash.
Although the NFL season is done, there's still many games to be played between college basketball, NBA, NHL, and WNBA. There's always time to embrace your inner underdog. All you gotta do is predict higher or lower on multiple different player statistics. If you've yet to download the Underdog app, do so now and get free cash. Click the link in the description or use promo code ChiefConcerns, one word, to claim your free pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So let's continue to keep the good vibes going into the spring season. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Bleav in 76ers podcast. We are back. I'm Marcus Dash. Right there is former 76ers point guard Eric Snow and my brother Teja Dash. Guys, we've been gone for a while. And we ran the numbers here since our last episode. The Sixers went on a 4-21 run. So we missed 25 games, and we were 4-21 in those 25 games. Obviously, you guys can tell, looking at the record, why we didn't really gather to discuss what was going on, because I think we all kind of saw the writing on the wall here. But now that the season is over, we're going to kind of take a deep dive into everything, all the fallout from this past season. But we're back, and the offseason is here earlier than we expected. But the offseason is here. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. Can't complain. It's travel season for me, so busy with that with the boys.
There you go.
Doing good. Just 4-21, man. That's it's pretty brutal. It's a pretty brutal. Do we know how to lose, or do we know how to lose?
We can take like the best of them, man.
We're tank extraordinaires. I just get it. It's interesting. I get a sense that like just the fans are feel more comfortable with it. Like Philly fans are just so used to tanking, and there's not much disappointment when it comes to tanking. Like you can't be this. What are you going to do? You get disappointed when the team wins if you want to tank, actually. Whereas if you're trying to win a championship, every loss feels like a gut punch.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't like it, but I understand it, but I don't like it.
Yeah,
I think that's the whole like idea of the tanking and like fans being okay with it. It's probably I would say that the millennial generation and like maybe the older Gen Zs who were kind of grew up during the middle of the process era, and they just kind of feel comfort in that, and they find solace in the tanking. I remember everyone was excited when like the Tankathon Twitter account, like when it was official that we were tanking, the Tankathon Twitter account, which became famous during the process years, ended up tagging the Sixers the Sixers on Twitter and say, "Welcome back, old friend," and like everyone loved that.
Yeah, that's funny.
oh man.
But so obviously lots to get into since we haven't met in the last 25 games. We've already had our exit meetings, which I thought was interesting. Sixers did their exit meetings right before the last game of the season, which is, maybe a concerted effort to kind of show the organization, the fan base, hey, like, look, we're keeping like the coach and GM intact. As we get there's no questions going to the offseason. So I did kind of like that. We'll get into what Nick Nurse and Morey had to say a little bit later on in the episode, but we'll begin. So like I said, since our last show, 4-21, so there's been a lot of losing. But because of all that losing, the Sixers have positioned themselves with the fifth highest odds of obtaining the number one pick and a 64% chance of keeping the pick entering the lottery in May, which is May 12th. So we're just under a month away from the lottery, which is going to be huge for us on the show and just in general for our Sixers future. But that's the question. So we have a lot of Sixer fans who are kind of saying the way the season ended up in the end, actually, we were going to be a team that without Embiid, without Paul George and Max, this team, even if we did make the playoffs, we were going to be one and done in the playing game. So it was kind of nice to come away with Quentin Grimes and also potentially keeping our pick. So with that, if we end up keeping our pick and, whether it's top 6, wherever that lands, would you guys call this season a success in the end? Because I've seen a lot of that from our fan base.
I mean, I don't think it was a success based on how the season started, as far as how we were going to go, and as far as the plan, it was the expectations. It definitely wasn't like a success.
Yeah.
But I think the way the season went and how it ended up with guys getting injured and not playing, it became you executed the plan better at the end of the season. Yes, that plan was executed great, but the overall plan as far as what you want to do in the season and what this team the way it was built. No, this is definitely a failure of a season from that standpoint.
I pretty much agree. Start a season, epic failure. Obviously, you want to at least be fighting for.
I can't see this. It's uncomfortable.
At least you want to be fighting for a playoff spot, or trying to get into the playoffs. But once we had the major injuries, and we were a couple games out of that play-in, and it was clear that Embiid wasn't coming back, and George was still basically just probably not coming back, and Tyrese was probably not coming back. I'd say keeping it is a huge win for us, because not only do you have the draft pick, you mentioned Grimes, Edwards, finding out what you had in some of these guys was just also huge. Bona looks like a legit backup big. Edwards looks like a legit, at least bench piece. Grimes looks like a possible starter. So I just think, you have all kinds of a lot of positives even outside the pick. I saw someone make an argument a few weeks back to say if we do lose our pick, you could say Grimes kind of was our pick for the season, who might end up being a little better than a lot of the guys in the draft. He's probably around the same age as some of these guys too, by the way they're coming out nowadays. So I think in the end of the day, it's a success, because having the pick after this season is great, but if losing the pick at this point would be really rough. So let's not even talk about that possibility of not having anything to keep from it, right?
Yeah, I think that brings up a good point. The way the season unfolded, right? Not a success based on preseason standards. We're talking about one of the best teams in the East preseason wise, and last offseason we were ecstatic. But yeah, as the season went on, it became pretty glaring that, the way we kind of structure the way we kind of tanked, but also getting Quinn Grimes, seeing what we have in Justin Edwards, seeing what we have in a Dembona. You have the building blocks to what Morey and Nurse did speak about in their exit conference or media time, where they did say that, they kind of over-indexed on guys who were good in the playoffs, like i.e. Caleb Martin types last offseason. But now they want to kind of get younger and more athletic. And I think you already saw that, the kind of building blocks of that throughout the season in the Quentin Grimes trade. Obviously, getting to see what you have from Justin Edwards on a full-time basis, and a Dembona. So I think with the way the second half of the season began with the tanking aspect, I think they already kind of jump-started how they wanted to kind of see what they're going to build this team around next year, because you still have Paul George, you still have Embiid, and what are the pieces around them? And you saw that midway through the season, that's the kind of the jump start to next season is seeing what you have in the Justin Edwards and Dembona and Quentin Grimes of the world. So I think we're already off to that off season based on the way they ended the second half of the season with some of those guys.
It was pretty much just talent evals the second half of the season. It was evaluating who you want to spend resources on, which I think they have a good idea. I think the number one, we'll talk about priorities of the offseason, but I think we know pretty much the guys that we'd like to have around, the guys that we feel like we need to have around to extend.
I mean, you got a free look at guys, but I never get caught up or carried away with when guys have success like that towards the end of the season. I don't think it's a real kind of example of guys earning minutes. I just think it's guys kind of showing they belong, but not necessarily earning minutes, because if you're not playing with those three guys, if you're not playing those minutes, and when you'll be a little more role specific, it's still going to be hard, because you have guys that have a little more freedom and they have more success and they have better numbers. But when you come and all of a sudden most of your shots are catch and shoot versus being able to have a pick and roll or in transition and have the ball more yourself. So with those limitations, how effective can you be? Not limitations on yourself, but those limitations is those limited opportunities.
Yeah.
Houses, and so everybody don't respond the same when the full unit is back. So I think it's it helped them take a look at guys, but to say that there's confirmation on guys' success, I wouldn't agree with that.
Yeah. I do agree. It's not confirmation of their success. But it was good to be able to evaluate some of these guys, I think. I think it definitely helped to see, I'm not by any means plugging Edwards in for 15, 20, 25 minutes a game next season. But you're looking at a guy like that, the coaching staff could be like, we could have something in this guy, like he's, it's a good, it's a good lead, right? Bona, same thing. It's like, oh, okay, we might have something in Bona. We might not need to go after because Drummond said he's already coming back next year. So Drummond and Bona, you might be like, okay, maybe we don't need a backup big with the Embiid next year. So it's just good. It's good just to see guys thrive and do well with whatever situation you give them. I know it's not the real life one because it's not, you said playing with all three of them. How about playing with one of them? They didn't play with any of those guys, like George, Embiid, Maxey, even McCain. We're missing 4 guys that are going to probably get major minutes, all 4 of those guys next year.
Yeah. Well, and also I think with what Eric said, because I think there's a false sense of, people think, we're going to have Quentin Grimes with Paul George and, Maxey, people are looking at Quentin Grimes, looking at the guy who's getting 40 points a game over with 3 games he did in the last 25 games or 40, where he dropped 40. That's not going to be the guy who's going to be paired with. It's going to be a different type of Quentin Grimes. We're going to get some aspects of that 40-point guy, but he's not going to be asked to be doing what he was doing in the last 25 games of the season. So there's going to be a little difference in what the kind of Quentin Grimes we get next year with everybody else. But Eric, to your point, Adem Bona, from what we saw from him, and from what we saw from him, is that something you can look at and be like, hey, based on what we saw from Adem Bona, he could be the backup 5 for Joel Embiid.
I mean, from a rookie perspective, what you establish with him is not necessarily what he can be for you. It's probably more of you seeing what he's able to do and what he does best. And you try to fit him into your plans or what you want to do. So it's more of, okay, well, here's who he is. This is the kind of success that he can have. And then you kind of go into the offseason thinking of this is the guy we have. This is what he brings to the table. Let's see if we can help him improve in other areas, but this is what we know we can get from him. So he might be a guy that can develop into that backup big, which means you can play him and use resources that you would usually go out and get somebody somewhere else. So he may be at that moment for them. I don't know. I think he did enough, but like I said, it's different. Are you able to kind of still be that impactful in playing 10 minutes versus playing 30 minutes? 15 versus, instead of 35. So that remains to be seen. I mean, we look at McCain, and the issue with him was not the issue, but the thing about him was his ability to turn limited minutes into success. And then those minutes continued to grow because he did that. Well, that was something he was able to do. And that's what I'm trying to say. Not everybody can't necessarily do that. So let's not assume just because a guy has some success later in the year when the roster was limited doesn't mean that they'll be able to carry that over to the same success when everybody's back.
Yeah.
So it's going to be that the spots around those guys are still going to be earned. They're still going to be earned, but they've seen the potential what the guys have that you can see. Okay, well, these are the guys that are going to be fighting for those spots, and we'll see who gets it.
I was also just impressed with Bona's ability to cut down on fouling. That's one thing that I wanted out of him, aside from just the overall stats and play. I like that he was able to improve as that last month went along. Not getting 5 fouls every game when we needed him to stay in the game. He actually did. That was a good improvement. And just overall, I mean, yeah, it was nice to see that. I guess in April he averaged 15, 8, and 2. So, impressive.
Yeah, he was. And I remember we were excited about drafting him last year on our post-draft show. We kind of talked about how that was kind of a steal, how a lot of people thought he was going to go in the first round, and we ended up getting him in the second round. So, for, Morey, people can say what they want about Daryl Morey, but Morey to come away with McCain in that draft, to come away with Bona in that draft, to come away with Justin Edwards as a UDFA guy who a lot of people thought was going to be a first-round pick, and then I guess with the way his season went at Kentucky, made him a UDFA. Daryl Morey home runs with with last year's draft class. So, we'll see what he can do with this draft. Obviously, I think we were all hopeful that we can get the capture the flag sweepstakes. So it's
Butler even looked good at times.
Yeah,
as depth point guard. We just guys. Again, they had a lot of opportunity to show things, so it's a little deceiving, like Eric said. But they could also just not show anything when they get a lot of minutes. It doesn't mean you play well when you get a lot of minutes. It's still up to them to play well when you get minutes, and they took advantage of their time. Most of the guys on our team.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's really just about taking advantage of the time that you get, and for the most part, the majority of the young guys or inexperienced guys did that. Actually, Grimes, probably had the most, did have the most success. It's helpful for him. I think that he'll be able to maintain it. I think that he'll be in a situation where he could have flashes of that. Because let's be real. Even if our guys come back healthy, they're going to miss some games. So, having a guy like that when they're out is able to step up, you can always benefit from that. Always benefit from having a guy like that.
Yeah, he shows he can go off if he put him into that role, which is good to know you can do that. Look, Lonnie Walker shows he can go off if you give him that role.
Yeah.
He's a professional scorer. So you might have come up with a few good bench pieces and maybe a good role-playing starter in Grimes. It's just, it's just more positives to take away from a lost season, at least.
Yeah, a lot of silver linings. And, Lonnie Walker also said he wants to be back. He was, privileged to be playing with his local team that he grew up playing, that he grew up rooting for. So, hopefully he can stay. And I think he's on the hook for a $2.9 million option.
Bleav so, yeah.
So, that's pretty good.
With Grimes? For Grimes, you're saying?
Lonnie Walker.
Oh, yeah.
So, and to talk about
Teja know everybody's salary. I don't know everybody's salary.
Yeah. Well, and also
let me pull up his bank account right now. Give me a second.
And he goes with the whole athleticism theme that they were talking about too. So the youth and athletic, which what they were prioritizing apparently this coming year. So, and also too, at the same time, we talk about guys who we're able to showcase it. I know we've been Ricky Council fans before, but even in this last 25 game window where he had more opportunity to kind of showcase himself, he really didn't kind of, pop. I guess his play didn't really pop, stand out like some of these other guys we've mentioned, which is also, it can also go the other trend too, where, you think a guy could be a part of the future, but then you see, he didn't actually stand out when he was given a lot of minutes like he was in the last 25 games too. So it could go either way with the more minutes.
Yeah. Lonnie Walker club option 2.9.
Yeah. Right. Is it? Okay. Yeah. I think that you put it, some guys did enough that the Sixers got to make some decisions on those roster spots. The roster spots as far as who you're going to keep around and roster spots as far as who's going to contribute, who you anticipate being in your rotation. The team could look different and the team could still operate pretty much the same way, but it's going to be still different because we have a lot of guys that probably will work their way into the rotation that never played with our best three players.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? So, some promise with some of our young guys, but ultimately the goal is still to win. Ultimately, the goal is still to win. So, we'll find out. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, kind of talking about one of our big three, the kind of the storyline that kind of the highlight of the season from the jump from right before Halloween. We talked about the Embiid's famous interview of I'm no longer going to do back-to-backs, which kind of set the theme for the entire year, which, we never really got to see him at all, let alone back-to-backs. But some more clarity and direction as far as Joel Embiid's injury. So Joel Embiid had arthroscopic knee surgery on his left knee last week. The same doctor who worked on Kawhi Leonard's injuries in the past. They apparently worked with 10 doctors before deciding on the surgery. And Morey feels like Joel will be back to playing at 100% next season. With this update also came another tidbit that there was some tension between Joel Embiid and the front office. The team believed he needed to play at some point, and he felt that he needed surgery. I believe he ended up going to the ownership to make that point clear to the 76ers front office. So hearing this, that Embiid, got the scope on his knee with Kawhi Leonard's doctor. Kawhi Leonard just the other day played 47 minutes in a game, a deciding game at the end of the season. So obviously, and we saw him kind of, slowly, get the management throughout the season. But then when it came time to, playoff ball, he's playing 40 plus minutes. We'll see obviously how that goes for them in the playoffs here. But what do you guys make of the Joel Embiid updates?
I mean, I got to be honest. It's just we don't want him to be in this situation, obviously. But he's here. But the way things have gone the last 18 months, everything seems to still be a wait and see. You know what I'm saying? Like that, everything to me, it feels like a wait and see. Like it seems like what they're saying has been said before. So hopefully it goes well and he'll be back performing at a high level. This whole 100%, I know that not to be true. Personally, that he's never going to be 100% to where he was. Like that's not happening. You can be as close as you can as far as playing at the best level that you can play in the NBA, but I don't think there's any NBA players right now 100% with all of that playing and grinding on your body. As far as that pounding, it's just not possible. But it's just something, it's hard to trust that what they're saying is going to kind of be the end game. I'm hopeful. But like I've said before, having a knee injury, same injury, same leg, I'm hopeful that he's not going through what I went through. I know with better technology and more resources and all that, it's possible that it can be different more procedures. Doctors. Yeah, more. I mean, yeah, I'm just saying, like you have more doctors and you have more opinions, and hopefully they can kind of put the correct one together. But at the end of the day, it's all about how his body responds to the procedure. Because this isn't a procedure for him to live the rest of his life. This is a procedure for him to play basketball against the best players in the world and him be one of the best players of the world.
Yeah, I mean, the theme for Joel and his injuries has become wait and see, or I've heard it all before, or let's see how this one's different. Like those are the growing trends with Embiid's and his injuries and what we hear. I can say at least there's a concrete plan. I feel like that's the most we've been told and the most we know about the situation in a long time. Like it's less mystery now.
Yeah, I mean, but we haven't really been told anything. We were told
about
we were told he had a meniscus procedure, and they talked about the doctor, but they didn't say
what he had. Like what was wrong with him?
Total repair? Did they shave it down? Like what did they do? Is it did they get something from another? They didn't. It's not detailed. So
no,
that's why I'm saying it's hard to trust. We're gonna have to wait and see.
It sounds like it's don't worry about the details of the surgery. We did something and we think it's going to fix the problem. But don't worry about the details, pretty much. Like that's what it sounds like they pretty much are saying. Just don't worry about the details. We did it. The 10 doctors agreed. This is what we needed to do, and we think it's going to be okay now.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So it's like 10 doctors agreed. So now we're supposed to say, okay, that he's healed.
Yeah.
10 doctors. And there's been a lot of doctors give a lot of advice on a lot of stuff, and doesn't necessarily mean that that person can go out and play NBA basketball and be one of the top 5 players in the world.
Yeah, this is what do you, I mean? You could turn back the clock 6 months ago. They had 10 doctors working on them last time.
Yeah,
and that's how we're here right now.
I get what you're saying, and I get what they're saying and doing, but at the end of the day, they also put things out a couple months ago that they didn't think he needed the procedure.
A bunch of doctors also said that.
Yes, so
that would have been my follow-up question at the press conference. Is it the same doctors who said he was okay after the last procedure last year? And is it the same doctors who said that he didn't need surgery 3 months ago?
Yes. So
were they wrong?
So he hasn't played since then. And it was he don't need a procedure. He says he does, and some people saying he don't. Now you went and got 10 doctors that said he do, or you just throwing the number out. So what I'm saying, it's hard to trust it. So it's really I'm not going to talk about it all summer, but it's really a wait and see.
Yeah.
Because from what we've seen since February of 2024 has been a guy has been injured. Every time we've seen him play, he's looked like that since January 24, whenever he had that last procedure. So that being said, he has this procedure now that they say he's going to be 100%, but he has it now. And so I'm wondering, well, why did it take so long to do it? If this was a procedure to be had, why in April would you now say he need it and do it, where he could have had it in February and would have been two months ahead?
Yeah, it took him a little while to decide on this. 10 doctors, man. That's 10 schedules you got to plan around.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it makes me hard to trust. It's a wait and see for me. It really is. Like, if I didn't have that injury, I would probably be like, oh, okay. I've seen guys come back from this, because I just think meniscus is a tricky injury with different people.
What was Kawhi Leonard's knee? Was his meniscus too?
I believe so, but I'm not certain. If it's not, then what difference does it make whether he got, you had Kawhi's doctor? It was a different injury.
Yes. I mean, unless the guy's just a knee specialist. But yeah, you would think it's the same thing.
Yeah, meniscus tear is one of the injuries. It was a combination of different things.
Okay. But his ongoing problems are very similar to Joel's. He kept getting ongoing inflammation for a long period of time. It wouldn't go away.
Yep.
So I will say,
I know that feeling. I know what they're going through.
I will say, same doctor. Kawhi looks great right now. I'm really happy he was able to turn it around. I'm really happy for him that the knee stopped bugging him. So hopefully Joel has similar success. But with Kawhi, they were definitely patient with him, man. They were really patient with him. So we've already been patient with Joel, but you just have to be more patient, I guess. The whole wait and see is going to wait quite a bit, probably. But but he got it now. I mean, when does training camp usually start for these guys? Back in
August? Was it August? No.
September, right?
No, October.
Damn, okay. So shortened. Okay, that's a good ways away.
Yeah, he gets reevaluated.
Maybe the last week of September. It kind of depends on your first game.
Yep.
6 weeks reeval.
I said it kind of depends on your first game.
Yes.
Yeah.
May to June, July, September. So he's got about 6 months till training camp ramps up. About.
And no Olympics this off season, so that's
no Olympics. Yeah, thank goodness for that, huh?
So that's what I'm saying. So 6 months. You do it a couple months ago, that's 8 months. That's 2 extra months.
It's a big difference.
what does that signal to you, Eric? The fact that, like, I remember one of our last episodes, we talked about all the different, the going to Germany is potential for his knee, a bunch of different, different type of a project type surgeries that never been done before for basketball players. But then at the end, it's just a scope. And like, what does that signal to you? Because it goes from like revolutionary.
It's a lot of disagreements. A lot of disagreements with a lot of people, with all the people that they were, speaking with. A lot of different things, disagreements, and kind of dissecting it, seeing what you want to do. But I don't know, man. It doesn't real seem like everyone was on board initially, and I'm not sure everybody was on board now. I mean, ultimately, any procedure is one guy that makes the ultimate decision. Whether it gets done and who does it. And that's Joel. I mean, the team can't make you do it. They can make you go to a specific person.
Yeah.
But he obviously felt like this was needed. So hopefully the plan going forward, they can put those 10 people or whatever together and they can figure out a plan going forward that can manage what he's doing. But I would imagine he's still not going to play back-to-backs. I mean, heck, these guys don't play back-to-backs now. I mean, and they haven't had a procedure. So, he's probably not going to do it.
Yeah.
So that's, that'll be something, but the team will have to manage outside of that to try to prolong his season and his career.
Yeah. I forget, does NBA have comeback player of the year? Do they have that award, or is that's mostly an NFL thing? Comeback player of the year. I know they have most improved player.
Most improved player, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they have comeback player. I know they didn't have it when I played, but I believe they do have it now.
Okay. Will Embiid play enough games next year to warrant that award next year? Probably not.
You got to come back.
They're probably not going to give a former MVP the comeback player of the year.
Yeah, probably not. All right. So this will be an ongoing topic for as long as this show exists, for as long as Joel Embiid is playing. This will be a constant update on our shows, talking about Joel Embiid's latest update with all the stuff he's got going on. So final topic here. So as I mentioned, Daryl Morey and Nick Nurse had their closeout press conference of the year, the wrap up. And the biggest takeaway from that, obviously they said a lot of stuff in there, but the biggest takeaway is that they both sat next to each other and they both said they'll be both back next season, which a lot of Sixers fans and NBA world was kind of had mixed feelings about it. A lot of people said Nick Nurse should have stayed because, he had to deal with all the injuries. Morey should have been gone for all, giving Joel Embiid the extension, all this stuff. But nonetheless, we don't have to, it's not going to be this elephant in the room throughout our offseason episodes. We know we're going to have Morey and Nick Nurse back. How do you guys feel about both of them returning next season?
I mean, I think the injuries bought everybody another year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a surprise to me. It's one thing if guys get injured differently and come back, but you're talking about it from the beginning. This was the case. So from a Nick Nurse standpoint, that kind of, saved you. There were still times you felt like they should have performed better, even when guys were out, and Maxey was still playing. As far as Morey, injuries. I mean, nobody, for the most part, the majority of people weren't questioning him being out to start the season. No one was questioning that Joel deal until now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if you were questioning his decisions then I understand you saying, hey, he should be gone. But if you weren't questioning him then, I don't think right now you could say they didn't mourn another year based on all these injuries. Now, if injuries continue to happen, that's something different because, you did sign a guy that was a little on the injury-prone side, and you have a guy, you put him with a guy that's on the injury-prone side. So those are decisions that ultimately fall on you for signing both of those guys to long extensions. So I think the injury bug can buy him a year, and it just can't have another year like this. Ultimately, I think changes would be made.
Yeah, I know a lot of fans thought that the writing was on the wall because we kind of talked about it in the last topic, but when Embiid went to the front, went to Josh Harris, kind of went over Morey's head to say, hey, like, I need to get surgery. I don't want to play. They were trying to make me play. Where I saw that report, a lot of Sixers fans thought that meant Morey was gone. The fact that Embiid went to Josh Harris just show you that there's kind of friction between Morey and Embiid. I didn't think so at all. I didn't think, Embiid's got a relationship with Josh Harris. He's been around, forever. He's got a relationship with Morey. I don't think that's, going over his head. I just think he's having a conversation with his owner. But that was also another thing. A lot of people thought the writing was on the wall for Morey when Embiid did that, when that news came out. So
yeah, but I don't think going to talk to him about your injury is going over Morey's head. I mean, that's really going over the doctor's head. That's telling you that we don't need a procedure. So I didn't take that as Morey's going to be gone by him saying that. Like, I didn't take it that way. I just took it like they have a difference in how they see him, because there's one thing. The one thing about having an injury in the NBA is being healthy enough to play, being able to play, and being cleared to play isn't always the same. It's a lot of guys that are cleared to play, but don't feel like they're healthy to play. That happens a lot. So for them to say Joel just need to do X, Y, Z, and he don't feel like that would help him, but that's just a disagreement. So, sometimes in order to nip it in the bud, you go to the source to make that go away. So I think Joel just made that expectation and those words from them go away.
Especially coming from Joel, too, who's been someone who says, I want to play, right? And we've seen him play injured and look rough. I think this was a whole other thing because it was the first time it was so obvious that his injury was impacting his play. He was able to mask it a lot before and not look 100% like him. Like, okay, he's not totally Joel, but his 80% is better than most guys 100%. This time it was like, no, his percentages are. It's obvious that it's not up to par, right?
But it was a situation where it looked like he was getting worse.
Yes, that too. Yeah, it was just forget about him not being as good as he usually is. It was impacting his movement. He couldn't move out there the way you can to be functional, right? Like you couldn't be a decoy out there. Like he was a liability a lot of times, which is crazy because you never would ever say that about Joel. Joel being 1.5 leg out there was better than most guys, but it's just like, no, this is a different level. As far as, I just think you can't blame, because if firing them is blaming them, right, to a certain degree. Like you're saying, the message is like, oh, they have fault in like what's happened, and I don't think they do. I mean, Nurse couldn't control what happened here. He was given players to field a team with. I do think we should have been better than when we were shorthanded. But overall, I can't sit there and say this is a Nurse problem, right? It just Nurse problem. Injuries. That's funny. Any more than it was a Doc problem. Get it? No, I'm kidding. But Morey, same thing with Morey. Morey fielded the best team possible. And I don't think most of us didn't have a problem with what he did in the offseason. Sure, there were negatives that we saw, but you looked at what he did and you're like, okay, I know what he's doing this for. It's to field the best possible roster, to maximize salary, put it all together. Everyone was calling him a genius 6 months ago. And here we are now. Stuff falls apart really quickly when your best players can't stay on the floor. I do agree, and especially with the NBA nowadays, with other teams just cutting coaches and GMs like it's nothing, man. Like it's an intern. Like it's crazy what's going on. I actually, on the contrary, like that we're giving them another year. I think in the future, if we want to get a good coaching candidate or a good GM candidate, they're going to look at Josh Harris as a guy who's going to give you ample time to see what you got. And they're not going to sign on going, well, I don't want you to be done dirty like you were when your players are out for the season. You get fired. I don't want to join you guys if that's how I'm going to be treated eventually, right? So I like that we're actually sticking by them for one more year, and it's worth giving them another year to see what they can do with a full roster of guys who will play for you. Because, I mean, we have 4 guys who are out. We had our number 1 pick, who was probably rookie of the year, also out for the year. So we have 4 guys out for the year. That's crazy. That's really bad luck if you think about it. Now, in a normal season when you were contending, do I think Maxey and George probably would have come back if we were like, a 7th or 8th seed? Yeah, they probably would have came back at some point. But we were tanking, so it was just easier for them to be like, no, they're out for the year. They're in rough shape, and I'm sure they got it too. They're like, all right, that's fine. Yeah, pay me full salary for playing half the season, and we'll get a better draft pick. That's fine. But I all in all, I think it's fair for them to get another shot at it. I think everyone's too quick to fire people.
Yeah.
And I think you've spoken to it before, Eric, like going into the season, like it was a team full of a lot of new guys. I mean, these guys never played with each other before. It was a full-on team of new dudes. And only 2 or 3 guys were from the last year's roster. And, like, to have the cohesion aspect and some stability, you don't want to have to go to a new season with a new kind of a head voice, on top of, another year of, having new parts and stuff. At least you have some kind of model of stability within your front office and the head coach going into the next year with however they plan to, retool this offseason. So it's good to have that, like, kind of structure still in place going into next year.
Yeah.
There's been constant changes for them. Constant changes.
Yeah. But all right, guys. Well, this good first episode back from our little 25-game hiatus here. Obviously, it's going to be a long off season starting earlier than it ever has before for us. We've seen playoffs, and now it's going to be our first lottery season as a podcast. So it's our first lottery.
That's true.
Yeah. So we've kind of seen a little different elements here.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah. We got to see this. We got to get past this lottery.
Yeah. Cross your fingers.
Figure it out.
Yeah. So, we'll try to at least go one episode every other week until we get to the lottery, and then we can discuss. At that point, we can discuss what our options are, whatever pick we do get once we get to the lottery. But we're trying to be in the off season. It's going to be a fun off season. A lot of things to get into. But we hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We will see you guys next time. Take it easy, fellas.
All right, take it easy.
Good seeing y'all.
Guys.